You are now listening to About That Business, hosted by Rom Wills. Rom Wills is an entrepreneur and personal coach who has helped people reach their fullest potential personally and professionally. Take it away, Rom.
Welcome to Rom Wills About That Business. Tax payments, part 3. Keep those receipts. Now, this is very important because, I just previously spoke about, if you self-employed, expect to pay some money and you might have to pay a lump sum, or even if you pay it on installment, but you're going to pay some money. The thing in business that mitigates all that are expenses. When you look at that tax form, and maybe even you can consult a tax professional depending on how much money you're making, or there's plenty of information about what you can write off. But as a general rule, everything you spend with regard to every single thing you spend, every single penny you spend that's related to your business, you can write it off or potentially write it off. There's some weird exceptions, but for the most part, play it like you can write it off. Let them tell you you can't use this. And still keep that receipt anyway if you got to argue with them. But trust me, anything that's business related, if you spend $2.99 for some staples, for your stapler, for your business, write that off, right? Write it off. If you do some traveling in your car using gas as business related, write that off, right? Keep some receipts. First of all, you want to keep receipts of everything business related. If you use your car as delivery, keep some receipts. If you use... Now, I'm not as sure because I don't claim the home for business, but a lot of people do work out their home, right? But there are some write-offs for business use of your home, right? Keep the receipts. You travel. It's a business lunch. Keep the receipts. It's like a presentation, something like that. Because here's the beauty of it. Because if you in business, you filling out that Schedule C. The Schedule C got a lot of stuff. They even have room for stuff. They got some stuff listed that you can write off, like partial use of your home and everything, fees, stuff like that, materials and supplies. But then they also got space for stuff that they didn't listed down there. Because it's business related. You did this for your business. You did any money you make that you use to make money with, write it off. Write it off. Right? And keep those receipts. You never know when you're going to be audited. Remember, and everything needs to match up. Right? Everything needs to match up. Now, you want to do that, especially you self-employed. You're not getting money taken out. You're typically not getting money taken out of your paycheck unless you're a little bit bigger business and you have an accounting firm that does that. Most people, if they self-employed, they're not going to have that, especially if you're a solopreneur. Now, one thing I will say, if you have a business and you have employees, you shouldn't really have the same issues. You really should have some type of accountant or some payroll type of business to deal with all of that. If you have employees, right? I'm gonna keep this in here. Because I thought about doing something separate. But if you have employees, that's not just you, because remember they got to do their own taxes and everything, all right? So you want to definitely get somebody professional, have some company take money out of their paycheck. Or even if you don't do that, I know some small businesses, like I worked for this gym, and they only gave 1099s. All they said was just keep some money for payment. To pay taxes with, right? But as a general rule, if you're paying a direct paycheck, get an accountant or some payroll service company who will take that money out for you, who will do that for you. And that's very key. But whatever the case, you want to keep all that, any expense or anything, because it mitigates what you have to pay. Like if I didn't have all the receipts I did, I'd be paying a whole lot more. And they expect that. They expect that. I mean, if you're going to be in business, it's very, even a service business, you got to buy supplies. I don't care what it is. It's hard to do any type of service. Yeah, maybe there's a few, but for the most part, 95% of businesses going to have to use some type of supplies, have some expenses or something. Shoot. Even if you use your camera, your smartphone camera or something, that might be an expense you can write off. And like I said, if you're unsure about stuff, there's plenty of resources on the internet. Just write something, and I'll guarantee there's some business books. You go to any local bookstore, if they have a good business section, especially the larger bookstores, they should have some books on writing off stuff. They got books on everything, really. Somebody thought enough to write a book on something, regardless of what it is. Get that information, because that's going to be key. I'm going to tell you what, the write-offs are the biggest key for business. Like I mentioned before with my grandmother, she never paid any taxes on her homes because she would write off everything. Any repairs, anything, she figured out how to write it off. The mortgage payments, whatever. You need all of that. You need all of that, especially because you got to mitigate the costs. And they realistically know you're going to have something. But keep those receipts. Like I mail something, keep the receipts. I pay for a website, I keep the receipts, And if you pay people for any services, usually you have to send them a 1099 if now you pay them over $600. That's the threshold, right? But that's also something that you can write off. That's also something you have to send them a copy of the 1099, and you have to send a copy to the IRS, right? But you can still write it off. Hey, I paid this guy $800 to do something for me, right? And usually, even if you pay third party online, depending on where they work, still keep a copy of that receipt. Depending on how much money they made, they have to file it anyway. They still have to file it. So, but you keep the receipts of any payment, any payments for anything. You keep the receipts, right? And you can claim it. So anyway, right? That's it for now. I'll talk to y'all later. Let's go make that money.